you noticed that I am filming this video on the same day as my December reading wrap-up? No you didn't. Hello, good morning or good evening whenever you are watching this. I hope you are doing well. My name is Catherine and today I'm doing my January reading wrap-up. First month of 2021 actually was a pretty good reading month. I'm having a pretty decent reading year so far, which I'm very pleased about. In the month of January, I read a total of 14 books and I DNF'd a book. What? We are starting off the year strong. We are putting up boundaries, and my boundary is good books only. Of the books that I read, 4 were physical, 10 were audiobooks, and one was, well, half of one was an ebook. I read 3 adult fantasy, 1 YA paranormal horror, 1 YA contemporary, 9 romances, and 1 general fiction. Before I get into these books, hey, if you aren't subscribed to me yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, let me know what your favorite book of the year so far is. First things first, the book I DNF'd. The book I DNF'd was Blindsided by Amy Dawes. Unfortunately, this was a popular book talk book. It just became super popular and I was so excited. It is a sports romance, which isn't my normal thing, but it is about a Scottish rugby player and his best friend, who she happens to be plus size. She's very, very insecure about her size, which is fine because we all go through it, but she definitely needed constant reassurance from a man, which was just a lot. I was really disappointed with this book for a number of reasons. I ended up DNFing at 70% because it was just I couldn't push through any further, which again was so unfortunate. Then, going genre-wise, I read the next 2 books in the Fortuna Sworn series by KJ Sutton. I still don't know how to feel about this series. I don't want to get too spoilery because a lot happens in all the books. Book 2 is Restless, Slumber. I genuinely don't know how I feel about this book. Do I like it? I don't know. I still really like Fortuna as a character. I think she's very morally gray, but really does what she feels is right and does what she has to do to protect those that she loves, which I really like that in a character. I liked Coleth a little bit more in this one. He had a little bit more of a personality, which thank God was the bare minimum that I was asking for. We get a lot more of the character of Lori, who is again a pretty interesting character. I'm interested to see how his relationship not only with Fortuna but also with Coleth develops. I did honestly find Fortuna's other relationships besides her love relationships a lot more interesting. And then in the same vein as the first one, the ending just left me so intrigued that I had to read the next one. She just does really good cliffhangers where you're well, crap, now I have to read the next one and find out what's going to happen. So I immediately picked up Deadly Dreams. This one I definitely did not like as much as the other 2. It dragged. It was so angst-filled from both Coleth and Fortuna. It honestly felt like there were 2 books in one. There was I got halfway through and I thought it was the end, and then it turned out to not be the end. I was ooh, you could have ended that there and then written a different book. But again, ended in a way where I'm who gotta know what happens next. You've sucked me in, you did it, congratulations. The next fantasy that I read was A Marvelous Light by Freya Mass. It was so good. It's a Victorian urban fantasy realism type deal where of course there's magic in the world that we don't know about, and it's a really cool magic system where people are able to cast spells by creating light between their hands or using a string to do a sort of cat's cradle configuration, which is just really cool and really unique and not something that I'd ever thought of before. In the book we have Robin, who's just kind of thrown into the world. He is not magical, has no idea what is going on, and because of a mistaken identity type deal, a curse is placed on him. The only person that can help him is Edwin Corsi, of course. It is a magical mystery, which was really cool because there was that what's going on? They're trying to find a magical artifact, which is just really cool. It had a reluctant allies to lovers type vibe to it. It's queer. We love to see it. I'm so excited for the sequel because that one is going to center around Robin's sister, sounds like it's going to be sapphic, sounds like there's going to be pirates. Wow, cannot wait. Next was the YA paranormal horror. I read A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell. Sarah Hollowell. It's about Derry, who lives away from society in this house with her sisters and their sort of father figure, teacher type guy. They live there learning how to control their magic, in fear of society ever finding them. Things are going, I wouldn't say great, but they're going okay. That is until her sisters start to disappear into the forest. I am definitely going to put some content warnings on this book for abuse, neglect, grooming, and gore. It's a heavy one, that is for sure. Overall, the atmosphere and the vibes of the book are really cool. The magic system is very interesting. There is a lot of info dumping at the beginning that you kind of have to get through, and you're like, okay, we're being introduced to all of these characters all at once. It was definitely hard to keep everyone straight, but it's a very diverse cast. Our main character, Derry, is plus-sized and queer. There is a non-binary character. There is a transgender character. Most of the siblings in this house are queer, which, like, it sounds about right. Bunch of girls living together. Yeah, it is definitely a dark story, and I never knew what to expect, and I like the sort of mystery elements to it. So it was good. I enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite. Definitely could have used a little bit more development, but overall, really interesting. Next, getting into the romances. First of all, we read Electric Idol by Katie Robert. I love this book so much. It is the second book in the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. First one being surrounding Hades and Persephone. This one is about Psyche, who is Persephone's sister in this world, and Eros, who is Aphrodite. It's Aphrodite's son. Eros is kind of the person that cleans up and takes care of business for his mother. They do not have a great relationship. Aphrodite sees Psyche as a threat and tells him to kill her. What does he do instead? Marries her. It is obviously the one and only solution to this problem that they have. But you know what? It's a great solution. I absolutely loved it. I may have even liked it more than Neon Gods, possibly. I loved Psyche. She is a plus-sized influencer in this Dark Olympus world. It's kind of a mafia romance. I think it is technically a mafia romance. And I really like the world. It's definitely get a lot more clear in this book than in Neon Gods. You see a lot more of the like politics of things in this one for sure. I loved Psyche and Eros' relationship. I just think that they are so cute. He definitely has those like touch her and you die type vibes. Will do anything and everything to protect her, and I love it. Next, I read The Love Con by Cerisa Glass. This is a great book for anyone who loves spoiler alert like me. It follows Kenya, who's part of a like Project Runway type show, but for cosplay. She has made it to the top 2, the final round. This is the grand finale. And their challenge is to do a couple's cosplay, but she's not part of a couple. So she convinces her friend, with very little effort, by the way, she convinces her friend Jake to be her other half and to pretend to be in a relationship with her. Jake, of course, has been in love with her forever. She also has feelings for Jake. So we have a lot of mutual pining, fake relationship, friends to lovers. Overall, such a great time. It also has a lot of conversation about like the fat phobia and also racism in cosplay and overall fandom communities in general. I definitely highly recommend this. If you have read the book, spoiler alert, if I've ever convinced you to read Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, you should absolutely 100% read this book, because very similar-ish vibes, just in terms of like plus-sized heroine in the sort of like spotlight in the fandom community, and it's so good. Next is It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Claire Christian. This is about Noni Blake, who has somewhat recently gone through a pretty dramatic breakup with her girlfriend, and she also is just realizing that she like hasn't felt truly happy in a while and hasn't done anything for herself. She decides to run away to Europe for 6 months to travel and do only what brings her pleasure. The first like 30% where we're like kind of getting the backstory and getting like her going to Europe definitely takes a little bit of build up. It was a little bit slow paced, but once you get past that 30%, so good. I definitely underestimated this. I was like, oh look, woman goes to like find herself in a journey in Europe, and it ended up just being so good. Noni's whole journey is like really complicated, and she has to like face a lot of like trauma that she's kind of gone through, and a lot of her like internalized insecurities. And then of course we have the romance. So of course it's all about her trying to find pleasure throughout Europe. However, she meets a certain someone in Scotland. He's a tattoo artist. He looks like a Viking. He's Scottish. It is top notch. It's definitely a bit of a slow burn at first. Once it heats up, it's so good. Next, I read The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. This is the kind of sequel to How to Fail at Flirting. You honestly don't have really had to have read the first one to read this one, but they're companion novels. So there's that. This one follows Britta, who is a up-and-coming journalist. She is trying so hard to get a promotion, and she pitches this idea to her boss to run an experiment on a fitness app. Yeah, fitness app that is supposedly like super body positive and all about like kind of not losing weight but helping you feel good in your body, which is awesome. She plans on like documenting this as a plus-sized woman trying out this app, and her boss ends up putting another woman onto another fitness app that is very different. What Britta doesn't realize is through the app you get a coach, a personal coach, turns out to be the CEO of the company. Britta and Wes, again, so cute. Denise Williams definitely writes really, really great relationships, very like emotionally supportive relationships, which I think is very important because you don't only need the like physical chemistry, but you need the emotional chemistry too. It is definitely a slow burn, much slower of a burn than How to Fail at Flirting, but I absolutely love the tension in this one, especially since for kind of like the first 50%, they only really communicate through text conversation, but their banter, so good. It honestly just meant that when they like finally met and they finally get to like see each other in person, payoff is so good. Next, I read Hang the Moon by Alexandria Belfleur. This one was also really cute. I had a great reading month this month, if you guys haven't noticed. This is book 2 to Written in the Stars, and this follows Annie, who is best friends with Darcy from the first book. She goes to Seattle to surprise Darcy, and also like visit with her friend before she takes a job that moves her all the way to London. Turns out though, Darcy and I'm forgetting the other girl's name from the first book, but they had gone on vacation together, so they aren't even in Seattle. So she ends up getting shown around the city by Darcy's brother. Brendan takes her around the city, and unbeknownst to her, he's definitely had a crush on her since they were children. They have this really great cynic romantic dynamic where she just really doesn't believe in love and those big romantic gestures, and he is a huge like rom-com fan and believes that there is like that one true love person out there for everyone, and he is like, I am going to show you how great romantic gestures are. So we've got the best friend's brother, we've got childhood friends to lovers. It's so cute, and I again just really loved their like dynamic. I love that they have this past relationship where they knew each other when they were younger, but they didn't really know each other, and they don't really know each other now. Also seeing her and Darcy's friendship is really, really sweet. Then I read The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This is about Carolina, who is a wedding planner, and unfortunately, ironically enough, she got left at the altar, which is super awkward. Now, several years later, she has this like huge opportunity to grow her business, and unfortunately she has to work with her ex-fiance and his brother, who who was the best man, and he may or may not have given his brother the idea to not go through with the wedding. Very cute, very great rom-com vibes. You got a little bit of a taboo romance because it is her ex-fiance's brother. They are reluctant allies. They have to like work together on this project very, very closely. Very cute, fun rom-com. Then I read the next book in the Blindfold Club by Nikki Sloan. This one was Three Sweet Nothings, and unfortunately these books are just kind of like going downhill for me. Like it peaked at number 3 and now I'm just not really vibing with them as much anymore. It's about Ruby and Kyle who dated in college, and after a huge miscommunication, they broke up, and then they reconnect, and they like clarify some things that happened, but also like it just set up the entire like dynamic of the book to be about miscommunication. And I personally don't mind miscommunication when it happens in books. Like it's inevitable, it's going to happen, but when an entire book is nothing but the miscommunication trope, basically, no, immediately no. Then I read The Roommate Risk, which was previously called Wanna Bet by Talia Hibbert. This follows Jazz, who unfortunately, due to a leak in her apartment, has to move in with her guy best friend named Raul, who has been in love with her for the past 7 years. She, of course, also has feelings for him, but also like doesn't believe in love. So we have a little bit of that like cynic romantic dynamic once again, which I love to see. I really loved the like mutual pining and had like them trying to like resist each other as they start this like friends to benefits type relationship. It just had really great tension, and I think that it's really interesting to see this book, which was written several years ago, I want to say like 4 years ago, versus Talia Hibbert's more recent books. You can definitely see her growth as an author, which is really cool. Finally, moving on from romance, we have my YA contemporary, which I finally finished. Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World. I was very nervous reading this book, and I had initially started reading it back in October when it first came out, and then I had to pause because I was stressed. I was like, I don't know if I can really deal with the emotions in this one, but I finally like actually read the entire thing this month, and I loved it. This, of course, is the sequel to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Amir. I love that book. And I really love this book. I, again, was really nervous because Discover the Secrets of the Universe is one of my favorite books. I just absolutely love that book. This one has Ari and Dante as they're like trying to navigate their senior year of high school and their relationship, which of course they like can't be out in the open about their relationship, because it is not accepted for people to be gay in the 80s in Texas. They also have to think about their future and their future with each other as they're like trying to figure out where they're going to college, all of that. So yeah, there's that. And it just, I love Benjamin Alirsean's writing. It's very poetic. It's very beautiful. He writes certain lines that just make you go, oh, okay. And just like hurt my soul. Definitely was like crying, like ugly sobbing reading this book. Finally, last book, I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really enjoyed it. I did not know what to expect going into this one, because it didn't really get as much buzz as her other books, which was interesting. But I really enjoy her writing. I think she has a very interesting way of writing and intertwining different people's stories. It is about these 4 siblings who they are the children of like a very popular singer who kind of just left them and their mother, and unfortunately it left their mother to like spiral, and then she died very, very tragically. They are now all adults, and they are known for their surfing and also the giant end of summer party that they throw every single year. So the first half of the book starts out by just kind of following the 4 siblings leading up to the party itself, but it switches back and forth between like modern day, what's going on, and then past. So it switches between the lead up to the party, and then will go back to how the parents met, and how they became married and the birth of each of the children, and how they basically ended up to be the oldest, Nina, becoming the caretaker of all of the kids. And then we get to the second half, and it is a complete shift in how the narration is, which I think is really good, because I definitely thought there was potential for me to just be annoyed by some of the characters. But then the way that it's written is by time. So you know how the party is going to end. You're told at the beginning it ends with Malibu catching fire. So it starts, start of the party, ends with that, and then everything in between, it feels like you're like watching on a steady cam going through this party of like, you're like, okay, you're in this room and you're seeing these like famous people interact, and then you're going into this room, and I just thought that it was so like well written and really just interesting, just the writing style of it. So yeah, really cool. Did not expect to like that as much as I did, honestly. So those are all the books that I read in January. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you've read any of these books, have any opinions, please let me know down below. I am always interested in other people's thoughts of the books that I am reading. Overall, it was a really great reading month for me. This month was a month of mood reading, and I have learned that is just what works for me. I'm done forcing myself to read books that I don't want to read. So here we are. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, bye!